My name is Yusuf Taylor, here on behalf of the 13 civil society organizations. So we're so grateful because it's such short notice, and you people are here, the media, our media, if I can say, the spokesperson for Gumsabopa. We are a consortium of 13 civil society organizations. So, as usual, as our culture and tradition demands, we just want to start with prayer. A short prayer, everybody in their own way, for a very quick minute, and then we will start. I introduce my colleagues. We have this event very quickly, and then we can start. Thank you. Prayers in your own way. Amen. May all our prayers be answered. And may we have a successful press conference. Thank you so much. So the reason why we are here today is because civil society, we met last month or the month before, just a month before, in September, after the AG saga. We met, you came and you covered our press conference. And after that, we had a study which we did, and the study, you can see the front cover of the study is what is showing up there. Civil society position paper on the pace and fate of security sector reforms in the Gambia. And of course, Gambia, we are going through the security sector reform process. My colleagues here, one of us will deliver a presentation, and we are here again together. All the organizations who are part of it, you see their names and their logos are all shown on the screen behind me. We have the Center for Budget and Macroeconomic Transparency, Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, National Youth Parliament, Activista, Team Gumsabopa, Solo Sandeng Foundation, Fantanka, Think Young Women, Charter 70, and we have even more, Wave, Bekanyang, Music for Change, and there's another one which I'm struggling to, Movement for Social Justice. It's also part of it. So that's the 13 of us. We made sure to try to do our homework rather than just to come and be here at press conferences. We decided to look at the security sector reforms. How far has it gone? Can we do our own assessment, right? So that we can see how we can complement government's efforts. And our colleagues together, we had a technical working group, and we worked together for all this period that you have not heard from us. And this paper has been delivered to the government. You can learn that even the Ministry of Justice, their representative came here, and we had a presentation delivered to them. But before the presentation, my colleague on the left will also deliver the position paper very quickly because we don't want to be here for long. Short notice, you guys coming. So my colleague on the left will deliver the position paper statement. Yes, the statement for the position paper. And then this will be followed by a presentation on the position paper by Mr. Jabati. So what I will do, I will just vacate my seat so that the person, whoever is speaking, will just take this middle seat. So you can just come.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esa Sane, and I am the Program Assistant at Women Association for Women and Victims Empowerment with Gambia. I am honored to be given the opportunity to read the statement on behalf of the 13 civil society organizations that came together to make this day happen. The statement reads, Submission of civil society position paper on the pace and fate of security sector reforms in the Gambia. It is with profound respect for the Gambia's ongoing democratic journey that we submit this position paper, addressing the critical status and challenges surrounding the country's security sector reform processes. Nearly a decade since the historic 2016 democratic transition, the SSR agenda remains incomplete, with progress hindered by institutional inertia, political hesitation, and fragmented implementation. This paper reflects the collective concern and commitment of a 13-member civil society working group on transparency and accountability that has closely monitored the SSR process and documented the persistent issues, including troubling instances of police brutality that undermine public trust and democratic consolidation. We acknowledge and commend the government of the Gambia's commitments as articulated in its National Security Policy 2019 and the Security Sector Reform Strategy 2020 to 2024, which aim to establish a professional, accountable, and rights-respecting security sector. Furthermore, we recognize the government's adoption of the Truth, Reconciliation, and Reparations Commission recommendations and the formulation of the white paper on SSR implementation as significant policy milestones. The ongoing partnerships and funding support from international bodies, including the United Nations and other key stakeholders, demonstrates a commendable dedication to reform. However, despite these efforts, tangible reforms have been slow and uneven, reflecting enduring challenges such as political interference, inadequate coordination, and resistance within security institutions. The gap between policy and practice threatens to erode Gambians' confidence in the security apparatus and puts at risk the hard-won democratic gains and national peace. This paper strongly advocates for urgent, measurable actions rooted in transparency, accountability, and inclusive participation of civil society and citizens in the SSR process. We call for the establishment of fully independent oversight bodies, comprehensive training reforms for security personnel, transparent recruitment and promotion practices, and the deployment of technology to enhance accountability and community engagement. By providing detailed, actionable recommendations, this position paper seeks to catalyze a renewed political will and collaborative engagement among the government, National Assembly, security agencies, oversight institutions, civil society organizations, and international partners to decisively advance the SSR agenda. Our collective objective is a security sector that not only protects but also serves the people of the Gambia with professionalism, respect for human rights, and adherence to the rule of law. We remain hopeful that this document will contribute meaningfully to the national discourse on security reform and inform policy and programming that secures lasting peace, justice, and democratic resilience for all Gambians. Thank you for your attention and consideration of this critical matter. This statement is signed by activists at the Gambia, Bay Kanyan, Center for Budget and Macroeconomic Transparency, CBMT Gambia, Charter 70, Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, Pantanka, Movement for Social Justice, Music for Change, Solo Sandem Foundation, Team Gomsaboka, the National Youth Parliament, the Gambia, Think Young Women, and Women's Association for Women and Victims Empowerment. Further, the statement has been submitted to the National Security Advisor's Office of the President, the National Assembly, the Minister of Justice, the Chairperson of the National Security Council, the Gambia Armed Forces, the National Human Rights Commission, the Inspector General of the Gambia Police Force, the Director General of the Gambia National Intelligence Agency, the UN Resident Coordinator in the Gambia, the UNDP Country Representative in the Gambia, ECOWAS Representative, DCAF, GIZ, and the Post-TRRC unit of the Ministry of Justice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, like I said, we want to do a very quick press conference, but we want to definitely make sure that the local languages, there are some media houses and many Gambians who English is not their native language. So we are not going to make it long, but NYP, the clerk, we can just swap the two of you, and then you can just do a quick summary, right? We're not going to go very much word for word. It's a summary. You can always read it in English, but let's get a summary. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Nuyu naa leen yéen yëpp. So dinaa try pour summarize lu Essa doon read si anglais. Dinaa ko summarize si Wolof. Dinaa jéem a try tam pour summarize ko si Mandinka pour ñoo xam ne ñoom ñoo nekk di déglu wax yooyu noonu ñu mun a understand lu ñu waxtaanee. So press conference bii nii lu tax ñu oote ko woon moo taxoon amoon na time boo xam ne civil society organisation 13 of us daje woon nañ ñu gestu naka la security sector reform bi nekk di progresser in the Gambia xam nañ ne dugal nañ si xaalis bu bëri research indicate na dugal nañ si luy dem be 20 to 30 million US dollars dugal na si Gambia in the security sector reform waaye ba léegi luñ nekk di gis mooy luñ doon daw si sun former government or si sun former administration bu Yaya Jammeh nekkee fii 22 years ago loolu lañ nekk di gis ba léegi so ñun luñ nekk di oote mooy comme que wax nañ dañoo wecc security bi nu muy operater dañoo make so it's a security for the people policy pour ñun la ñuy nekkal foofu noonu pour sàmm ñu nekk pour sàmm nguur bi rek ba army bi tamit ñun la muy nekkal foofu pour sàmm ñu immigration tam ñun la muy nekkal foofu noonu pour guide ñu pour security nekka loo xam ne ñun la fa nekkal te ñun la muy doolal waaye gis nañ leen naka la nekk di demee mu ngi xala slow bu baax a baax so ñun gestu nañ gestu yooyu war a xamal ne government of the Gambia mooy nguuri Gambia dafa war a def ay jéego pour ensure that ñu implement the security sector reform si nu mu gën a gaawee because luñ doon jooy ba tey loolu moo fa nekk ba léegi police yaa ngee dóor ay nit ba léegi police suñu arrêté nit yi duñ leen téye comme ay nit lañ téye gis nañ police di téye ay nit di leen sànni si gannaaw pick up gis nañ police di arrêté nit ba pare di leen mbëj loolu yëpp nekkul si loi loolu yëpp àndut si loi te loolu lañ bëggoon a génnee fii loolu moo waroon ñu ne security sector reform waaye ba tey loolu mu ngi am xam nañ nag am na yu bëri yoo xam ne door na gis nañ police yi bind nañ loi bu ees ñu ngi loolu noonu ne di police bill pour war a mën a change police naka la muy doxalee gis nañ immigration am nañ immigration act gis nañ ay reform yu bëri loi yu bëri yoo xam ne ñu ngi koy jéem a andi pour taxawal suñ kaaraange mu nekk loo xam ne ñun lam fay nekkal waaye ba tey nu mu nekk di ñëwee o nu mu nekk di demee dafa xala slow bu baax a baax a baax so ñun nag ñu ne nguur war na moo gestu naka la muy liggéeyee ak National Assembly naka la muy liggéeyee ak independent institution yoo xam ne ñooñu ñoo fa nekk pour war a sàmm nit yi seen ngor ak suñ human right naka la gaay di mun a coordinater pour ensure ne the security sector reform the speed is expedite and ñu realize la lañ bëggoon foofu noonu te lii ñu ngi koy waxtaanee tamit di oo ñoo xam ne ñoo nekk di dooleel nguur mi wala ñoo nekk di dooleel civil society pour gaay di liggéey si fànn SSR ñoom tam ñu xam comme ñun lan lañ si nekk di seetlu ndax am nañ luñ bëggoon ndax àgga nañ fu mu doon séntu ak lan moo des luñ war a def pour àgga foofu noonu so loolu moo nekkoon luñ doon waxtaanee loolu la doon Essa si Wolof mbaɗigol mba trailale ka ñim fanan fo manika kawnto biɗum malon faɓe fonolala ñanta fole ñamen kono nak kaccamu menti no wolen security sector reform naayamo security sector reform wolen na banko a kantar ña aka samma ñaadile because ngalonne ko brin Yaya Jammeh ɓe nun janga believe ko police ka behave no ñamen ami ka behave no ñamen security ɓe nun ñamen ñi banko kan a mañanna kela wo ñama police kila doko kenu ñamen ani ana ñanta kala ñame o manke kelinte ka jale police ka mol arrest ke tulo bu janni ke sama police ka mol arrest ke fay mu do kono comme yalla ko ye lo sidole fay mu do ko ma so ñing ke ta famalti me yalla ko amanyinya anin human right manta anin harama di ngol ñanto manke fen kelinte so be ñanta ka change la ko di jamale dundita SSR kono security sector reform kono bari fo saim ba je kan ko ntol kamen kumbonu kunum wala be je ko bi sain tol civil society me alon tol le benta janga men jibe wala munti ko man sakunda nyanta pan jibe la ka make sure security sector reform implementation o ay taria itu mewol men nyanta kala je ke je mewol me yalon ko wol fanam lafta wala bondi la no je ngol bondi je kaje ko nim police ol bela do ko kala isaning hadama dingola nyanto samanyola ning ami bela do ko kala isaning hadama dingola nyanto samanyola bat fana luwal me yalon ko wollel beje wollel ye police sambentu yande kala kol ke ka te ka nyamen o luwal ye boje luwal ye nati je me yalon ko wollel luwalti melning hadama dingol nyanto tata nyola so ñine kata kacaten la tamen kacanale esa ñine faale ngale kamoto son la tawle damanding summarize si manika kamoto betum bisa jomare fama bajana ya manika kamoto moy kata mentari so ay bol ma do dale ala baraka ba
So you can just swap with him. Okay. And you can swap. Some presentation loaded up. You just presentation. After you open floor for some questions because you need to am na lu bari lu nekk di xew si dëkk bi loo xamee ne am na pour def ak security all right Gambia soo xoolee am na nataal bu nekk si gannaaw suñ cover bi of course suñ ñu ngi try pour xool naka la ñoo fix li pour wat di ngeen gis si cover picture bi lu nekk si gannaaw loolu is a picture of ku ñu Omar Aljouba bu ko daan sànni si pick-up bi loolu moom gis nañ ko te amut foofu du citizens yi rek gis nañ police naka la ñoo use police pour ne génne even the AG from official ñun yëpp gëm nañ ne loolu yëpp nekkul loo xam ne lu taxaw la in fact sax suñ tatin organisations yi looloo tax ñu njëkk a ñëw come together then njëkk a ñëw come together because of lu xew ci AG bi NAO auditor general suñu waxee AG ñu bari dafa important pour ñu leeral auditor général gis nañ duñ ko buubee yóbbu ko ñu xam ne loolu warut a xew constitution bi joxut police bi doole boobu noonu even président bi sax amul doole boobu so obviously police bi tamit waru ñoo am doole boobu te foofu lañ taxaw dinañ just def suñ présentation bu gaaw ñu jox leen some tamit yenn examples of things yu nekk di happen si biir Gambia bi fii nekkut ne ñu ngi jos wax lu xam ne loolu moo ñu neex tamit ñu ngi ko bañ a jox nit yi fii te léegi-léegi ñu bañ ba pare joxoon reasons waaw so dinaa bàyyi suma colleague bi Mr. Jobaate in English dinaa go through presentation bi ba pare ñu ubbi ko for any questions boo leen am. Thank you so much, Mr. Jobate.
Yeah, thank you so much, Flex. As Flex indicated, I am Serifo Jobate from Solo Sunday Foundation. So, as Flex indicated, after the forceful removal of the Auditor General from his office, 13 civil society organizations came together to do their own assessment of the fate and pace of security sector reform in this country. So, this position paper is a product of that exercise. Because we have realized that there's a disconnect between policy and practice. What is in books and what is in laws and what is in policies is different from what is happening on the ground. So the genesis of this position paper is the fact that there's a disconnect between what is in the policy and what is happening in practice. So we came together, we analyzed and scrutinized the government's own policies, from the security sector reform assessment of 2017, coming to the security sector reform strategy of 2020 to 2024. Likewise, the recommendations by the TRRC, plus the government white paper, accepting the recommendations, and also the reports by the National Human Rights Commission, series of reports by the National Human Rights Commission. The current one, I think, is of 2025. That is on the status of implementation of the TRC report. But then there's another report of 2023 to 2024. So we've analyzed, we've went through all these reports and strategic documents. What we are able to realize is that these are very, very good in some sense, strategies and policies. But then what is happening on the ground is really this disconnect from what is in these policies or what is in this document. So there has to be problems somewhere. And what we're able to identify is that there are a lot of problems from this, in fact, these laws, these policies, likewise, the way the command is given and the way the commands are implemented. So we are able to analyze these documents and found out that this document indicated that the police and other security sector institutions are highly politicized. They are state-centric and they are acting in an unprofessional manner. So that is why we have this document, and that is why we have the security sector reform agenda in the first place. Because if you look at the security sector assessment report of 2017, likewise the security sector reform strategy, it is the president who said in 2017 that we have inherited a very and highly politicized security sector institutions. And as such, to reform them is necessary. If we don't reform them, peace and tranquility in this country would be a far-fetched idea. It is in that strategy reform document that quoted it that the president says that. So the idea of security sector reform started from him. He himself says this, that we have to reform the security sector institutions. So that idea was picked up. A highly ministerial or also committee was set up to assess the security sector. They've assessed and they've came up with a report in 2017 identifying the gaps. So those gaps and those recommendations gave back to the security sector reform strategy. And that in between these two strategic documents, the TRC was set up. The TRC did their institutional hearings, which includes security sector institutions, and came up with certain recommendations. The recommendation includes that there should be reforms in 3 states. One, the security sector institutions should reform their laws that regulates them, that establish and regulates them. They should reform their policies, especially manuals on trainings and so on. They should also reform their mindset. Their mindset should be reformed. And all these 3 stages are tied up to each other. So this position paper reflects the assessment and the position of the 13 civil society organizations. So we are able to identify a few gaps that we think, and also a few instances of police brutalities or security sector reform, security sector institutions brutality that we think are the problems, and we make some certain recommendations, right? Many recommendations that we made, many gaps that we have identified, and we've also highlighted few instances of police brutalities. One of them is the forceful removal of the Auditor General, the throwing of the protesters, in a trunk, right, like a bundle or like a firewood, which is unacceptable, right? So these documents that are what we rely on, and then some of the problems that we have identified are as follows. One is the slow and inconsistent security sector reform strategy implementation. Despite a high funding from international donors, because Malagan has reported, I think last month or so, that the funders have injected close to $7.1 billion for security sector reform alone. If this is something to go by, what we are seeing in practice is then very, 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 very disheartening. $7.1 billion is not small money. That's a lot of money. Right? If that money is spent on reforming the laws, reforming the policies, and so on, then it's not reflecting on the ground operations of these institutions, especially the Gambia Police Force. We have seen how arrests are done, how detentions are done, how those arrested are scattered or are strategically, being given to different police stations to have and detain them. Those are some strategic measures that were taken in the darkness, and they are still being taken in Gambia. We call a democratic Gambia. So we have identified that there's a slow and inconsistent SSR implementation. Identified that there's an entrenched police brutality. It seems as if this is a state policy that the police need to be brutal, because that's how we are seeing it. It's a state policy that is instructed from the higher level to the lower level, right? From the excessive use of force, arbitrary arrest, torture, and sometimes death during protests. We have seen Ibrahim Abaji, Omar Baji, who died because of police brutality at Mandinaring. We have also seen in 2018 what happened in Faraba and other instances, because one university student was stabbed at the UTG, around the UTG, by one Lamin Traveler. In fact, that Lamin Traveler was charged, convicted, and sentenced to 20 years. That's few of the measures the government has taken, which we commend them for, right? But there's a weak accountability system in place. And this weak accountability system in place is because we lack independent oversight, right? And there is high, in our view, political interference in police leadership. There's also poor and irregular internal disciplinary mechanisms that is in place. So these gaps are there, and we have identified them. And there's a need, in our view, to address these issues, because if these issues are not addressed, the way things are going is getting serious day by day. There's also, if you look at our prisons, dilapidated detention facilities. Our prison is not fit for human habitation. Right? If you visit the prisons, you will know that that place is not fit for human habitation. So the representative of the Ministry of Justice was indicating that there's a prison bill that has some progressive provisions. Right? We welcome that prison bill. We'll go to that prison bill, and if need be, we'll engage the media as well on what happened next on that prison bill. There's also a failure to reform police culture, because this is a culture, just as we have in our communities. Culture is not easy to change. Culture is something that people live by. Culture is something that people live for. People can die for culture. So there's a need to change the culture of brutality. There's a need to change the culture of use of force, the culture of arbitrary arrest, the culture of unnecessary detentions. So that culture needs to change. And we identified it as a problem, that there's an unchanged culture. Right? So if these cultures don't change, there will be impunity, and our democratic consolidation will actually be undermined. So having identified these gaps and having relied on these strategic documents, we are able to do a few recommendations. One of them is that there should be a strengthened accountability mechanism in place. This is to establish an independent civil oversight body for police accountability and perhaps other security sector institutions. Right? Second is to insulate police leadership from political interference. There should be, a kind of lack of interference with the police leadership by the political class. Because if the police is appearing in such a way that there is a political interference in what they do, then there's going to be a problem. So there is need for us to insulate political, leadership from interference. This is to mean that, the new police bill should have provisions to indicate that the appointment and the approval of the appointment of the IGP should be given to different institutions. For example, if the IGP is appointed or if the IGP is nominated by the president, then the nomination must be really approved by the National Assembly, so that we have, a kind of some security, in the tenure of the IGP. So there should also be a shift from a force to a service-oriented policing model, right? So there has been recommendations that there need to be a change from the Gambia Police Force to Gambia Police Service. This will inculcate in them a sense of service, a sense of serving the community, a sense of serving the state, that is the people, than the political class or than the few leaders. So there's a need for us to change that. And there's also a need for the police to have a mandatory course on crowd and conflict de-escalation strategy. There's that need for that to be inculcated in their curriculum at the police training school or any training school. This will give them a sense of really ensuring that they respect human rights, they respect the people that they went on to secure. Because if you don't have the knowledge, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to behave when you're on the ground. So that disconnect is there. There's a need for that. We strongly recommend. We strongly also recommend that the police adopt technology. Example, body cameras, CCTV, drones, and so on and so forth. Because if these things are there, really, there will be easy accountability. There will be easy detecting and identifying who is involved in what and to what extent are you involved in a certain brutality. So technology should be adopted and should be used, right? The representative from the Ministry of Justice indicated that steps are being taken to make sure that these things are in place. We hope so that these steps are, realistic steps, right? So in terms of the institutional reforms, we also recommend that the police should establish a national police misconduct register. Likewise, they should ensure that a merit-based recruitment and promotion process or procedure is in place. The recruitment process of the police and other institutions should be so rigorous, so merit-based, that there will be no room for mediocre. There will be no room for people to be recruited in a way that will inculcate in them that you need to be using force excessively. You need to be brutal when you arrest. You need to be doing things in a way that is, that is not in line with the Constitution not in line with international human rights standard and even their own police act. So the police or the government should ensure that there is a merit-based recruitment and promotion in place. There should also be, integration of human rights and civic education in their curriculum, as I have indicated earlier. This will ensure that really, because there has been many trainings for these institutions, training conducted by the National Human Rights Commission, by other institutions as well. And then there has been, because their own doctrine document indicated that they have developed 30 policies and almost 30 SOPs, standard operating procedures. So that tells you that to regulate their internal and external operations. That tells us that really there is no shortage of policies in a sense. But the problem now becomes implementation of those policies or enforcement, or what happens on the ground. If this is on the ground to address, assemblies and to address protests or to address demonstrators. So there's a need for integration of human rights and civic education into their curriculum. There's also a need for police to reform the professional standard units and publish annual integrity reports. This will ensure that really we know what is going on inside. We know what is going on inside. We know the kind of units that the police have. We know there are some units, human rights units, and so on and so on. But there's a need to be publishing that, maybe annually or by annually, right? To be able to get us the details of what is happening internally, right? So these are some of the recommendations, right, that the 13 civil society organizations came together and put forward. So as my brother indicated, Flex, this policy paper is with the government right now, right? Because it has been submitted to the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Justice, even the President's Office. We have submitted this there. Likewise, the National Security Advisor and the National Human Rights Commission. So the last of the recommendation is such that the police or the institutions that are security sector must introduce competitive salaries, medical insurances, and retirement packages to reduce corruption. Because corruption is a cancer. It's a cancer that really eats up the nation. So we need to be able to have this competitive wages or salaries in place to be able to ensure that the police and other institutions are free from corruption or are free from things. Because really, some of these things, if I am paid well, it's a logic. If I am paid well, I'm receiving good salary, receiving good package, and so on. Who are you to tell me to enforce an unlawful order? My fear would be that if I don't enforce this unlawful order, I will not eat. I will not pay my children's school fees. I will not do X, Y, and Z. But if I have that package sorted out, really, I will not be there to enforce an unlawful order. And if you dare not enforce an unlawful order, in fact, you are ensuring that our democracy lives on. You are giving practical expression to the wishes that we have expressed in 2016 to vote in the government that is there right now. So these are the recommendations. I have just summarized them. The policy paper is there. These are the position papers there. These are the recommendations we are able to come out with. Right? It's very long, but I'm able to summarize them together. Right? So this is what we have for the people of this country. Right? So we are no enemies of the government. We complement their work. We work with all the institutions as civil society. So, but then it's incumbent on us, or is important for us to come out, as Flex indicated, that there is something happening, and there's a trajectory, there's consistency in what they do, and it seems to be an entrenched policy. So we need to have to break that. We need to have to break that through advocacy, through these position papers, and through some engagement with them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You can swap with Mr. Bigger, because I know there might be some questions. Okay, we are so grateful that you guys have come in today. That was Shirifo Jobate giving the statement of the actual summary of the whole position. Let me see. Okay. We are at the end, and this is the part that we go over to the media, because of you might have one or two questions. That was Shirifo Jobate from the Solo Standing Foundation, one of the 13 organizations to have come here to be part of this. So goes to tell you the amount of work that we've managed to do. What we know is that the TRRC, for example, it's all time bound. There is an implementation plan. When you come to the security sector reform, there is nothing like this, which is very important because of you cannot see how are they implementing the SSR and the timelines that they are supposed to give us. So these are very, very important. That makes the security sector reform process very difficult to see. Where are we going, right? There is a divorce between the SSR and the TRRC. The TRRC is what is informing that the SSR has to happen. The TRRC highlights all the human rights violations, right? And the SSR, if it happens well and properly, then the never again slogan will be true. Orders from above. We talked about it. We're still living in that day and age. Orders from above. Whenever protesters are held, for them to be left, given a police bail or to give in bail or to go, that has to be followed by what? Orders from above. I've been in that situation myself. I know exactly how it feels like. And it's happened to many people, it's still happening right now. Protest permit is issued. We see how sometimes people are struggling to get their protest permit. But that will not be possible except there is independence of the security institutions. How will the IGP be able to make independent decisions which go against his boss when he knows that he can be fired at any moment? And this is the challenge. This does not start here. Like my colleague said, since in the Jammeh era, right, the executive controlled the security institutions. And until now, then that independence, they are struggling for it. We cannot end without talking about the recruits. There are so many new recruits. We are seeing them. And look at what they are doing. They are training. Is their training sufficient? Are they abiding by, are they having proper training even before they let them loose on the public? These are all things which our position paper is pointing out. We will take questions. It seems like most of the other media have gone. I know we called you all in short notice, but I'm sure there will be questions. Please feel free, ask them.
Thank you. I don't know whether you categorize this as a question, but then talking about police brutality, take examples from our abuse of the and then the issues of court and the road process. But there's a guy who's a living witness from you now. You tortured by police. The police themselves, according to their report, they said the ones that did that act, they were not, I don't know, even they placed on authorized checkpoint.
Yes.
But then when I went to have an interview with the family members, they let me know that the police are coming underground, even calling them with the account to the case. Because that guy is suffering. He cannot sleep, like his eyes swollen and everything. They are pushing with medical and condition that you guys are here as a coalition that can keep it. What are you guys going to do to make sure that that guy has justice? Because he has every single evidence placed on that. All these scamming hospitals, this movement, the conversations and the witnesses, everyone is on that. There's nothing that is hidden or lost at that thing. What do you guys do as a coalition?
Okay. That's, I will take that question because this is somebody who I've actually got in touch with directly through you. Thank God, you remember. And when I got in touch with this young man, unfortunately, we got to realize that he is suffering from health conditions, from injuries. Even his eyes were seriously hurt. But I didn't speak directly to him. I spoke to his colleague who was trying to help him because he needs help. And I did tell him that I would accompany him to go to the NHRC. But events seem to have been escalated because of, like you are saying, the police is going to them and trying to, discourage them from pursuing the matter. Maybe that's the reason why I have not heard from them. But what I know I can do for sure, and I believe we said this in our last press conference, is that we will work with them. From here, I will engage them and for them to go to the National Human Rights Commission because that's an oversight body, right? And they do investigate these things, they do hear complaints. They can even go on their own, but I'm more than happy to go with them. And I will engage with them to see that they go, lodge their complaint, let the National Human Rights Commission take action if need be. Because an unauthorized checkpoint, this is what happens in this country. People who are supposed to preserve law and order will just get up, where they are not designated to have a checkpoint, start to put one cone there. Sometimes it's not even a cone. Sometimes it's just something they just put in the middle of the road and then expect that people have to come. Stop. And this somebody, apparently, according to this scenario, They are trying to stop the guy is not stopping. You take a stick and hit it on the person's head or facial area to stop them. They are riding a motorbike. You hit them to stop them. That's undone.
What the guy said was, the checkpoint, when he was moving the first time, he was on any checkpoint. Coming back, he was on speed. And they bring him, they cannot start moving.
Yes.
So they have to
With a stick. Yes, I saw images and all of that about the stick. But yeah, you have another question and then she has one. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Go on.
My second will go to them where I am from. You understand? Obviously, we realize that the police in there are tending to take orders by themselves. Like street football is something that everyone is involved. But they went ahead to stop kids from playing street football. And official fighting, I'm not saying individuals are the ones who stand captured in a real life footage, understand? Fighting people, and then in return, putting them in cells and build cases. Now they are reporting on the daily basis.
Okay. If any of do you want to direct it to anybody? One of my colleagues is here.
Sure.
Yes. Just come here. Come on, take it.
I can sit here now.
Yeah, no, the mic. You can just.
All right, thank you very much. So for me, the response to this question is this. Everything that we're talking about in isolation all fits into one issue, and it all fits into the issue of the security sector reform that we've raised. Because all of these things will not have happened. For instance, if, the police are in check with regulations, with laws, a police officer will not hold, for instance, an authorized checkpoint. It all fits into this. And the issue of having to burn people from communities with regards to street footballs and issues that are related to that, this all fits into a bigger infrastructure. Does the government make the provision to ensure that there are football fields that are designated for these young people in the communities where they can reach so that they can go play football there? Because if that is not done, then you leave the young people with no options and no choice than to use the streets. And the streets are not government streets. They are everyone's street. So it is important for us as people, and this is not just civil society, this is us as a community. I mean, this is us as people that elect the president. This is us as people that elect the National Assembly, who are the lawmakers. How do we respond to this? How do we channel this through our National Assembly to ensure that there are legislation made that will address these issues? But also, how do we ensure that as individuals and as citizens, we continue to implore from our National Assembly members and our institution to implement the policies that are in place to safeguard us as people? So I think it's everybody's responsibility. We do not have to accept certain issues. However, that is not also saying we need to take the laws in our own hands. We have elected National Assembly members. We've given them responsibilities to make laws. Now, are those laws addressing the needs and aspirations of the Gambian people? If not, then it is our individual rights to ensure that we consult with our National Assembly member at our constituency level so that they are able to make those changes. The other things are, how often, for us as media, for instance, are these things brought to daylight? Are these things brought in the open? Because we have a responsibility as civil society. And media, for me, is civil society. How important is the media making sure that these things are in the open and everyone is aware? Because then the individuals that do not have access to take this are able to pick them from somewhere. But also, how do we utilize public litigation? How do we ensure that we do not just stop at calling press conferences, but also making sure that we take these matters to court? Because, for instance, this community can take the matter to court, then ask the government to either provide the young people with a football field to play on, or leave them play in the streets that they have. So I think we need to start stepping up and litigating publicly. That way we can address issues of it.
In a chess game, right? You have the one person that everyone on the chessboard tries to protect. Who is that person? The queen, right? Right? Exactly. And if you defeat the queen, or if you get to the queen and destroy the queen, the whole game ends, right? Right. Now, I want to transfer this analogy to the laws of our country. When it comes to police brutality, when it comes to police abusing our laws, police abusing power, police terrorizing the citizens. There is one law that they hide behind. That law they use to terrorize the citizens that they are supposed to protect. And that law, I believe we all know it, the Public Order Act, right? We had the Ministry of Justice representative here earlier on before the media came, and he himself gave a suggestion. And that suggestion was that we look into the Public Order Act and we use our judiciary system to fight for the Public Order Act to be repealed. And also another member during the discussion gave the same recommendation, that we should fight for the Public Order Act to be repealed. And as you all can see, the clerk of the National Youth Parliament has just mentioned that the media is part of the civil society. We are all part of the civil society. What I would make known here is that the Public Order Act is a huge problem, one of the biggest problems that we have here. We all need to come together. The civil society, us here, we will come together. We, in fact, actually are working on this in terms of what I mean, civil society. The civil society is working on making sure that the Public Order Act is repealed. The media should ensure proper coverage of this. If need be, dialogues, discourse on the matter of the Public Act. The police are using the Public Act to terrorize the people, to oppress the people, to avert or prevent the people from fighting for their rights, exercising their rights. So even to fight against corruption, to protest against corruption, is actually not possible because, or almost not possible because of the Public Order Act. It is one law that we must get rid of if we want to ensure transparency, if we want to ensure accountability in this country. And if we want to put our law enforcers in check, we must take the law from them that they are unlawfully, sometimes lawfully using, but immorally using, and sometimes unlawfully using, right? That they are using, all in all, that they are using to terrorize the people that they are supposed to protect. I'll stop there because I have a lot to say, but I'll stop there for that part. But the other part is the Auditor General's case. I don't know if you guys have a question on the Auditor General's case and all that. We're still following because the last time we asked about, we gave a press conference was regarding the Auditor General. And
She has a question.
the Auditor General has taken the matter to court. Now, when the matter is at the court, usually, I don't know much about the legal procedure, but one thing we can do is to be a party to the suit. And that's what we are working on to do. And hopefully we will be able to do that, to cement this suit that he has pursued. The Auditor General's case, rather, I implore on all of you, the media, to follow this case. Because this is a serious case that the Auditor General has every right, I believe, to win. And if he wins, it is a win for this country. If he loses, it is a great loss to this country. Because the current Auditor General right now is there illegally occupying that position. He is not supposed to be there. The former one that has been removed, that is fighting at the courts right now, is the lawfully selected person, and he is backed by the Constitution to man that position. The president did not follow the right procedures to have him removed. He forcefully removed it by using our police system to remove him. And that is unlawful. What the president has done is unlawful. What the police have done is unlawful. So we make sure that we watch this and we all fight, we all join hands and then fight this fight.
Okay, we have some more questions. Thank you very much. Yeah. Just sit where you are.
Before managed to answer most of my questions, but I still have what specific actions are you putting forward to the government to ensure that the security sector reform process becomes more transparent, accountable, and responsive to the citizens' needs?
What actions?
Come on.
That's a difficult question.
No, I think it's in the answers.
So to make it more transparent,
More responsive,
Yes.
more accountable to the citizens' needs.
So first of all, that is an ongoing task, which we as civil society have a very important role to play in following the government. So what happens is, what we found, one of our recommendations is that the TRRC, you can see, is more measurable. One of the first recommendations is to have measurable goals and targets so that the government can, like in the TRRC, how they have an implementation plan that within 5 years, they expect to do X and Y. If journalists, if you go into that implementation plan, you will see by which quarter of which year they expect an action to be completed. But that does not occur in the SSR. So this is one of the first things which we are recommending that they need to do for the SSR, so that it's measurable, so that we can see when they promise that something should be done and that needs to be done. So then a report can be issued, like how the NHRC is issuing a report every year on what is done on the TRRC. This is something similar what we need to see for the SSR. But sometimes it comes, but the way that it comes, it's not measurable. You understand? So those are some of the ways, and when they issue that report, it will be transparent, published, like how the NHRC does, and they have a press conference, because the media is very important when it comes to the public being able to follow the process, right? It's because you went to the NHRC, TRRC press conference. Now, your readers, anybody who reads the Point newspaper after your publication will know how that is progressing. So this is what we see is missing, right? And our recommendation is calling for this. Yes. So I think that touches it. We have a question, go on.
I think I have
Okay.
It is a great concern that prohibition and prevention of fraud are however, not implementation of that.
Yes, I think this is a concern because of one, Gambians per se. Going to court is not one of our cultures, if you could say. Yeah. Very soon, you see, want to try to take somebody to court, the family members will come, plead with you, or they will send a delegation so that you drop the case. Right? This happens even in serious issues like, which also touches on SSR, like SGBV in particular. These things are happening, right? So what we are saying is that that has to change. Until people start taking these issues to court, right? When such violations happen, they take them to court. Somebody tortures you, you take the person to court if it's a security officer, all right? Well, that's not happening. Alternatively, for those who may not have money, because I know very well, taking somebody to court takes money. Some people don't have money, and we completely understand. Go to the NHRC. If a civil society organization like me, from Sabopa, we are ready to hold your hand, take you to the NHRC, file your complaint. You too should be ready to pay your transportation to come. And when you come, you will be able to have the accountability. And these things, we have tried to do them, right? We have made examples, right? Sorry, I have to say, for example, Gorgimbu is one, where we took the victim to the NHRC and something happened. Similarly, another rapper, Chipai, from Banjo, he was violated. We took him to the NHRC. Some 6 police officers, they disciplined them. Now, and he got something out of that. So, but that's what we are trying to show Gambians, right? So that's what we can do. But the act, as for the act that you talked about, that one, they need to go to court so that they can implement that.
Another question.
Go on.
Is we have seen the big facility, they call themselves as partners, and we have seen that the Motor Traffic Act is being repealed, and they want to come up with a new law. So, what is your stand on that? As it is a security sector reform bill that will go to Parliament, and these people are endangering the lives of individuals.
Okay, if any of my colleagues don't want,
Because it is when a new law comes in, then another law will be repealed, right? So, but the issue of the drifters, I think the police has charged some of them before, right? So I don't know under what offense or so, but I would like to believe is disorderly conduct, something like that. It's other conduct also that endangers the lives of people of this country, right? So they call themselves outlaws. Yes, that is just that's just a name, you know. So, but they are not outlaws. Everybody in this country is under the command of the constitution actually and the laws of this country, right? So the issue of the drifters. Okay, so I don't know how it affects the security concerns, right? Because how it affects the security reform concern. So if it is the other way around, like the security is dealing with them in a way that is against their right also, then the comment will have been in that direction.
We are talking about reports.
Yes.
And maybe you will not follow it, but the Motor Traffic Act
Yes.
is being currently reviewed to be repealed.
Okay, yeah.
So now, that is a security sector reform.
Of course.
So it has a connection.
Yeah.
So now we need to cater for the punishment of those individuals directly, because currently they cannot charge them directly on those punishments. They can charge them in line with what is in that act, which is an outdated act. I think it's 1940 something or something.
Yes, yes. That's very, very important. Let's chip in.
I will chip in. Let me what I will just say. What I will just say is because we have not seen that bill yet, right? So we don't know what exactly is to be repealed. But since you've brought this to our attention, we call on the government for us to also be included in the process. If it is currently at the National Assembly level, as civil society organizations, we can reach out to them, get a hand of what the bill or the repeal is actually calling for to be repealed, and we can give our inputs on that, right? It might be because they can be punished under some other section. So because we are not very much at speed with that as of now, I think we will decline to give a specific comment. But one thing which we do call for is for us to look at that and to see how it does impact on the security, because security of people is important. A safe road is very important for our security, definitely. Anybody last questions? Are we done?
I don't think anyone has any questions.
Let's wrap it up.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. And so that's all what we have for you today. We are very grateful that you guys came at such short notice and you stayed with us for this period and managed to cover today's press conference. Please, we want to thank you, especially those of you who have already published some of our statements, which we have sent to you. So we can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll get to talk.